Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy. We are back with Star Trek Adventures Aegis on part 5 of our 13th episode of the season, Star Trek Adventures Aegis and the Starry Compass. Before we get into this, I just have one small shout out, which Modiphius has launched something new, I think, this past week that looks very interesting. Very specifically, they're calling it the Captain's Logs. If memory serves, believe they have 4 smaller books. One, I think, that is in the TOS era, one that is more next generation oriented, a third which is closer, I think, either to DS9 or Voyager, and then a final one that has been pushed up to the era of Picard. Actually, scratch that on the DS9 Voyager one. That one is actually a Discovery era book. Uh, but in any case, it's actually meant to be a solo play adventure. So you build off from a seed and basically roll up different encounters that your character or characters can encounter along the way as you navigate your team. It comes down to a different set of dice rolls that can shape the type of adventure you have, the encounters you might have along the way. It looks very interesting. I haven't played with it myself as of yet, just because who has the time when they're running 2 excellent campaigns like this? But if you're having trouble finding a group of players or finding a GM, then it might be worth checking out. So that link will be in the description of the video here for those in the archive. I would encourage you to check it out. The second thing I wanted to note that was most pertinent for this stream here, for this campaign, although I'd noted it on Wednesday as well. The Trek family did have a very sad loss this past week. Manny Koto, he was a writer, I think, for season 3 and 4 of Enterprise, but he was showrunner through season 4, which, as fans of the show will recognize, was one of the best received of the season. It did a lot of the interesting prequel elements that earns this part of the show so many plaudits. He was a great producer in his own right. Particularly here, he really had a love for the story. Definitely suffused through all of the work that showed up that he was involved with that season. Just wanted to say on behalf of the crew and of both campaigns, we wish them the best and mourn their passing. But rest in peace, Manny Koto. With that out of the way, let's just do a very quick recap. So, the Aegis has been at warp for much of the past week, pushing the engines very hard in order to get to Fomalhaut. This star system, though not presently claimed by any of the major powers, and indeed to the outside observer didn't seem to sustain any form of life, has attracted attention because it seems to be the site of some relevance to an ancient map that you've discovered. This map uncovered by 3 scientists, Kara Sloan, a human of Alpha Centauri, Dr. Natala, a Denobulan, and Tenkayet Fen, an Aurelian explorer. It seems to suggest an ancient puzzle that seems to have been left behind by Bronze Age civilizations, who inexplicably not only had highly accurate star charts, but maps of the subspace realm, the extra-dimensional plane on which your ships partially interact with that makes interstellar travel and communication practical at the higher speeds that you do it. Whatever is at the center of this, or what remains, whatever mystery is behind this could be of great significance, and you've already pieced together 2 parts of this puzzle, which, as the map is assembled and as the equations were processed, seems to be consolidating around an area. You've determined that there's a missing piece, and that the highest probability of it being anywhere would be this star system. When you arrived, you discovered that it was indeed a very full star system, clouded by lots of interstellar dust and plenty of larger rocky objects. So dense it would have been very difficult for you to navigate, save for the fact that you seem to have discovered a corridor of sorts through the mess. One which you were able to navigate through. You get the sense that this may not be entirely natural either, both because it's highly irregular to have formed on its own, but particularly there is the note that you've detected an energy surge from what is likely to be a ship somewhere in the corridor. You did try to give it pursuit, although you are having a lot of difficulty tracking it down. Radiation is making it very difficult to get a positive sensor read. Um, they are still a bit ahead of you, but you have stopped at the moment because the trail and the corridor led you to a gas giant that was partway through, something exerting enough gravitational influence to disrupt the objects around it and at least keep things relatively stable. The gas giant is host to a number of moons, one of which is a very marginal Minshara class, or the highest grade of habitability. Granted, this is more on the. This is so far on the margins that it's probably closer to what would later become known as a Class L. Like, very, very harsh, not particularly pleasant, um, and just all sorts of issues. It appears to be basically a scarred, cratered, barren desert world. But it is the best lead that you seem to have here. It is such, Captain, that you've decided to take an away team down to the planet and keep the Aegis hidden by the gas giant's uh, radiant planetary rings, and hope that you can get all of this done with attracting as little attention as possible. So,
I mean, the other team's doing it, or the other group that got ahead of us is doing it apparently. So, might as well just park in the parking lot. That is the rings.
indeed. So, let's uh, let's go ahead and get things started with a shuttle, a Vulcan shuttle in particular, departing the launch bay and making its way towards the moon of a planet that I think for now is just being designated as Fomalhaut C. There is a slight amendment to the crew that departed on the shuttlecraft. Very specifically, the original plan, as discussed last time, had been to dispatch uh, the captain, Colonel Lillian Sharp, the first officer and science officer, Lieutenant Commander Kiran Patel, the Vulcan guide and logical pilot for the shuttlecraft, Mr. Saral, the three scientists whom we mentioned earlier from the independent exploratory vessel. Then there was the one of the Makos that was being brought aboard, and the subject of change was actually the medical officer. The original plan had been to send Nurse Marple, but we are going to just go ahead and retcon that and say that our own Dr. John Lambeth will be joining us on the away mission today. So, Doctor, this is actually probably the first time you've been on Saral's shuttle, I think.
No, he was on the Shrulls to the pirate base.
Oh, that's right.
So many health hazards and OSHA violations.
Yes. No.
Oh, I took a value, by the way.
Understood.
I don't know. I guess he probably feels quite at home in a place full of health hazards and OSHA violations.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, Doctor, it is a Vulcan ship. On the other hand, it is the messiest Vulcan ship you have ever seen.
Yeah.
It probably puts some other tinkerers of all species to shame. You could generously say that Saral's organizational system is something very much locked in his own head. Just don't begin to try and explain or decipher it for yourself.
We all know what Soral's mother would say about this. Clean up your room, Soral.
No, everything is exactly where it should be.
Saral, you fairly easily pilot the shuttlecraft into the atmosphere. There's not a whole lot of shear or hazards coming from that, no more so than you would expect with the usual planet. Um, as far as this star system is concerned, that's probably the least of your worries. Um, just from the initial looks that you and Patel have gotten from these sensor readouts, you know that the planet itself is extremely harsh, having been pockmarked by dozens of asteroids over probably millions of years, and probably with a bit more frequency than is particularly healthy. It is, although it's not irradiated, thanks to the combination of the broader debris in this system, the uh, just sufficient thickness of the atmosphere, and the the shielding from the gas giant itself, it is still very much it's still not particularly friendly to life, and not a place that you want to be stuck on, marooned, or otherwise have a long camping trip. There's sparsely any signs of life that you've been able to make out, at least from orbit, though closing in you may get a better sense of what you are looking at. The major obstacle has been the fact that it seems that with all the mineral deposits and material that it has accrued when it accreted together, there's high numbers of various sort of metallic substances which are arrayed in such a manner as to effectively make sensor scanning like nigh impossible, at least at longer ranges. Lots of magnesite, iron ores, kelbonite, all manner of other stuff. It's just an absolute nightmare of that.
You say arrayed, I assume naturally or artificially.
Uh, Definitely naturally. A lot of this just accrued over time. Probably most of it when the planet accreted together, but because of the sheer number of asteroid strikes that this planet has taken, or meteorites, more of the system's material has come into play here. Um, Fomalhaut, even if you were not in orbit, the system is not particularly friendly because outside of the corridor, it is very dense when it comes to the material and the various rocky bits of material. You wouldn't want to go straying into that. Worse yet, there's evidence that the star is in an intermittent phase of radioactive emissions. Thus, occasionally bursts of stellar winds may knock some material about or cause some reactivity, some excitement. So, being shipboard isn't always going to be pleasant either. But it is the place that seems to hold the next part of this mystery here. So I'm guessing Saral has risked greater injury or done things that quote unquote might have been dumb to that effect.
Well, it made sense at the time. Let's just say it.
Yep. How would you say the sensibility on this scale is going so far?
Well, the planet seems harsh, but not immediately life-threatening, so it's a medium. He's probably done worse if he thought it would be worthwhile, or worse in the sense of more risky things.
Quite fair. You descend into the atmosphere after whatever bumpiness might come with the transition. You find yourself soaring over a planet of great contrast. There's not a whole lot of surface water readings, but it's mostly. It seems as though there are large stretches of barren sands. Some of it probably more glass-like fragments from extreme heat. Those especially located near the um, near crater sites all around the planet. There are also dozens of like very sharp-looking mountain ranges over the sensor scans. I think that the area of most interest would have taken you somewhere near the mountains, where Mr. Patel's sensor analysis showed that there was the likelihood for some interesting subterranean activity. Or
I assume that even on a planetary approach or looking for a landing site, there are no signs of any other ships.
well, there's certainly nothing that is out and about flying around you, but if you would like, you may make a scan and attempt to locate any signatures of anything that would be ship related.
I'm flying, and since Soral isn't the best pilot, I think he's pretty concentrated on that. But if anyone else wants to do that,
I could do a scan.
Okay. Oh, in that case, Patel, you may do so. And if somebody would care to roll for the shuttle, it is also among the character folders. I believe everyone should have access to that now. Let me just make sure. Yep. So let's call this a reason and science roll, alongside sensors and science from the shuttle. I'm going to give you just a difficulty 2 scan, in part because the sensors are having to compensate for the effects of the all of the ores in this area.
I'm
that-
rerolling that complication, by the way.
Yeah, good
Oh.
start to the day.
Yeah. Perchance, Patel, how are you re-rolling that complication? Because I don't believe you've spent momentum to gain cautious.
Because of technical expertise.
Ah, very good. That's right. Technical expertise when sensors or computers come into play, if memory serves.
Yep.
That allows you to re-roll the d20.
And normally it's 2 momentum to re-roll, right?
Normally a re-roll actually requires an expenditure of determination. 2 momentum would simply buy off the critical failure and resulting complication. So
2 momentum just buys off the failure and what?
basically, rolling a 20 in the 2d20 system that Modiphius uses constitutes a critical failure. So getting the in order to ignore the complication, you expend the 2 momentum in order to ignore that.
What was the shuttle rolling sensors and science? Because I'll just go ahead and do that.
Yes, that is correct. Okay, that is 3 successes, so that will give you a point of momentum. I guess since we are between adventures, I'll just let things stay where they are. Or we're not between adventures, but between sessions. But you don't lose anything this way. So Patel, you are not detecting any signs of other craft or other spacecraft that are in the atmosphere or appear landed anywhere. No signs of any subspace signatures or other EM readings of precisely that nature. It's unlikely that anyone would be operating impulse engines or anything that would be more significant like that in atmosphere. The particular configuration for that can be a little messy. For atmospheric flight, most people just use the basic gravitational impeller system if they are at a stage where they have that type of technology to go to warp anywhere. They've moved mostly beyond chemical propellants except for as a backup, which your shuttles have. But anyway, I will say from that sensor scan, particularly since you got an extra success there, there are signs of potential bio readings near one of the mountain clusters. It's a little tough to determine exact density, but you can more make out the faint readings of bioelectric signatures, which could suggest something fancier than like a mold or fungus growing in a cave somewhere.
Hmm. And is that in the direction? Like, are we on like a specific trajectory right now? Like, is that taking us in the right area for that?
I think that that was kind of the destination of interest that your sensors had highlighted, because I think that the Aegis's own decent high-powered sensors was kind of picking that up on a lesser scale, and you figured, well, if something or someone has been down there, then that's probably the most likely place. Also, your own geological expertise told you that the readings of that area gave you the sense there might be some interesting subterranean developments, which you might be able to traverse.
Oh yeah, I brought the spelunking kit and I'm ready to go.
Yep. Since you did succeed, you do get a bonus momentum here that can be used to ask questions, and as always, Studious applies, so you may take 2 free questions.
Anybody got anything? Well, I think.
Safe and secure landing area, making sure that it's stable enough to support the pod.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, I would also be looking for like an area that gives the pod some kind of cover from like detection in some way. Maybe like as a secondary goal.
Yeah, I was actually suggesting.
Okay. I think that could be in part filtered into the current sort of general idea, or basically as a result of the task. Are there other questions that you want to put to the?
If we can discern the species, if we can discern how many.
Yeah, I think I would probably try to go for how many before the species. I think that's probably more tactically relevant.
Yeah. How many and then what species?
So let's see. Safe landing spot I'll give you as part of the role. In terms of like we've got the basic type of species or what you can discern there. Any other questions that you would want?
I mean, those are the 2, right?
Or is biggest ones?
Well, I think that the what's its face? I feel like the landing zone would be something kind of separate there, so that's
Okay.
or that would be something I could give you a little more freely, if you catch my drift.
Are any of the like naturally occurring ores or whatever in the area like explosive? Like, are we talking about chemosite or anything?
Yeah, any hazardous materials, minerals, or other natural zones we need to avoid or be aware of.
Do we detect anything at all that's not naturally occurring?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, let's go with that one instead.
Like alloys or metals or whatever that's just not found on planets, or that's certainly man-made or species-made.
And if so, can we determine what it is? Not just like a yes or no. Is there something there? But like,
what?
Yeah.
Are there signs of an ancient civilization or artificial civilization here, and also the further details on the biosignals that we've collected?
Okay. Well, first off, I'm just going to switch up the map a little bit, or switch the vista so that we get a slightly different view for this. So on the first question, in terms of what you can detect in terms of species, I will say that I will say invoking the obtain information here, I can give you a partial answer, but I'm going to rule that the precise nature of things cannot be answered just because of conditions on the ground, or there are limits of what you could discern going that extra mile here. In other words, the GM is obviously entitled to not giving a complete answer. What you are getting with a little extra power to the sensors and your own experience dealing with these phenomena, Patel, honestly, in a lot of ways, the experience kind of takes you back to the first mission that you had with Colonel Sharp on board when you went to HD, I think it was 45518, when you found that very curious radioactive planet that had a small zone that looked like a pleasant part of the English countryside, manor and all, um, and lots of sheep. Oh, I don't remember the nickname of the sheep that we had. Woolsworth, that's who it was. Rest in peace, Woolsworth.
It's in my notebook. I have a little drawing of Woolsworth.
Yep. So your experience there, trying to deal with interference from radiation, has taught you a little bit of this. This is obviously slightly different because a lot of it is dealing with more issues of metallic substances and ores and whatnot. But it helped prime you for this a little bit, and in particular, looking for interesting forms of life through general sorts of interference. So what all of that has taught you, Patel, what you've gleaned since then, is a little bit of insight in terms of the sophistication of life forms. Your best guess with the telemetry you are getting is that there could actually be some fair-sized, definitely animal life of a sort down there. The sophistication, it's hard to say exactly, but it could be something that it could be something roughly comparable to decent or large-sized animals of Earth's own past, although uh, I would say that it's animal life there probably it would be very difficult to imagine. Like, you wouldn't expect basically that a cow would survive a planet that gets such a degree of meteor strikes as this world. Or it would have to be something very adaptable and capable of traversing cave lines, but still of like a comparable size to those larger mammals of the larger to mid-sized mammals of Earth. There is also hints that suggest that there is something more complex down there. Part of that coming from the bio readings, but also the realization that there are slight signs of activity within the rock that suggest, at the very least, um, some sort of low-grade electrical work going on. Some vibrations, or like some sort of seismic activity, which could indicate something persistent, like a sort of industry. Even perhaps, and this is the most unusual thing. You start checking the EM spectrum. You actually might even start seeing signs of radio waves being emitted, and maybe even very small, higher band EM signatures that you would associate with more advanced technology. That's probably, that last little detail is probably the bit that's most out of place. It's the idea of any sort of civilization existing here seems very impractical. That is to say, it would be hard to imagine anything naturally developing here that would have been able to retain sort of records throughout the years and be able to build up to an industrial civilization. But as those Vulcans say, infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
So on the like radio wave thing, like I know that there are, or Patel knows that there are like natural sources of radio waves, but like him being curious and having sort of a hunch, can I like, is there like one of those little like Bluetooth headset things that I can stick in my ear and take a listen? and see if I can hear anything coming, like is an audio signal or anything coming over the radio waves.
Oh,
Just on a hunch, because any civilization
Nah.
here would have to be pretty quote unquote primitive because of what the condition the system is in,
that would
unless
depend.
they're visitors.
Saral is. Do you have a headpiece for or an earpiece for communication on the ship, or do you just prefer to pump things over the speakers?
Speakers. I'm usually alone on a ship, so I don't bother.
Fair enough. And before we get too far, I'm going to redeem that posture check. I'm even going to stretch. Thanks, Panda.
Yep.
I'm also going to take a drink. Okay, so yeah. You could pump something over the speakers if you so wish, then, Patel.
Okay, yeah, I'll flip the switch and just on a hunch.
Yep.
Not too loud.
So you'll you modulate the sound and like start looking through different bits of the radio frequencies. There is a lot of static and a lot of the sort of a lot of other sort of radio sounds coming through that are just like searching for something. There's probably the plenty of the natural sources that you would expect to find. Let's see. I'm just going to grant that. Oh, God damn it! God damn it! There is an excited burst of something from on one of the radio frequencies that the translator recognizes as language but cannot currently lock onto. It's something roughly approximating just basic Simlish, like Scrumridge Entrepreneur.
Does it sound familiar?
Not at all.
Well, there's our confirmation.
Lovely. All right. If you can guess, maybe 200 meters. Actually, let me calculate that out of character really quick.
I'm going to say there are two zones that you've roughly spotted as far as landing near that complex. One of them does put you near a fairly dense, rather one of the denser sort of populated sites, such that the life or biosigns reading suggests something. The other puts you further, a little further away, but
Let's
with
put it
slightly
further
lower
away.
Okay.
Until we know what the population is here, I want things quiet, and for the most part, make sure that nobody is beyond 5 meters, 5 meters away from each other. Especially once we get if we have to get inside the cavern system itself. Is that clear? Visible eyes for everybody.
Yes.
She's looking over to civilians too,
Yeah,
because
understood.
we're getting very fucking like this is their make or break here. How hyped is the Lily crew?
Oh, Lily, or rather, Kara and Natala both seem quite interested, if a bit quiet. Fen himself is near as you can tell. He's probably got something of as much of a grin as he can have on his avian features. He's maybe rustling his wings a little bit.
No. Finally, my word is the final word. If we need to go, if we need to move, even if you find some sort of miraculous archaeological break, we're moving. No complaints, no protests. I want to make sure that everyone is safe. That includes you personally, regardless of what historical break it could be. She looks over to Patel and Saral as well.
So this is sort of a recon. If we find something, we can always come back to it. Is that the plan?
Recon, but more or less, we have no idea what's going on in this situation. We have no security in this landing site, and I'd like to ensure that everyone is safe. Doctor, if you can make sure that we're within healthy parameters, or at least marginally healthy parameters in the atmosphere or in the environment.
Yep, I'll keep monitoring that.
From the readouts, both from the shuttle sensors and what you got from the ship, Danny, it's looking like the moon, although not the most hospitable place for other reasons. The atmosphere does seem perfectly breathable for everyone on board the ship.
Yeah, breathable atmosphere. Not the best, but it'll do.
To be on the safe side, she says, and starts handing out rebreathers to everybody. Rebreathers and goggles. Put them on if you feel any problems start arising. Moira and I will take point. Unless anyone else has any issue with that.
Oh, I don't think that any of us have an issue here, Captain. I think we just want to get out, take a look, and see what we can find.
She'll just nod. Also, keep any communication with the comms to a minimum unless absolutely necessary. Means any sort of danger or surprises. Patel, I think you'll take judgment on that.
Of course.
On that. She'll just nod. Any questions? All right. Let's go.
Okay, Sorrel, I am going to ask you for a roll to land the ship this time. This is going to be a control plus con roll with a difficulty of 2, and that will be from the that will include the shuttle's con and engines to assist you.
I would like to take an extra die because my con is 2.
Okay. How would you like to buy that extra D20?
Momentum.
All right.
I spent.
Yeah. And if you could drop
Can
a
I
moment.
can I argue for focus because it's my shuttle? I don't have another one that would fly.
I don't think so in this case.
God damn it!
2 successes. So that is enough to clear it. The shuttle may assist here. See if you get back any momentum.
Someone gonna roll or should I?
Go ahead and get to that, Felix, too.
What is it?
Oh,
Engines
sorry.
and sensors? No.
That was con plus engines.
.com.
Just to set down the shuttlecraft. No help from the shuttle there. However, you've still met the base difficulty to succeed in order to set the shuttlecraft down. So you are all good on that front. Alright, so, Sorrel, you managed to navigate over to a small valley kind of between some of the mountains. It seems to be a fairly dusty environment, but the surface readings are safe. There's just enough space for you to be able to safely put down the shuttle, make a very easy landing. We've got the cinematic black bars on either side. The shuttlecraft sets down in the valley, and you seem to have everything all secure, Sorrel.
Okay.
As you debark, the first 2 out of the shuttle pad, or rather, the shuttle itself. There's no pad here, obviously. The first 2 out are Sharp and... Sorry, let me start that again. The first 2 out of the shuttlecraft are Colonel Sharp and I believe it was Second Lieutenant Mora. Are you coming out phase pistols drawn, or is it more tricorders? What's our speed here?
I'm pulling my tricorder, but my hand is close to my gun hip.
Just reading you as a Mako. Since you're scanning, I probably don't need to do it. So I will have my phaser out, but Mako style, it's kind of pointed towards the ground. You know, meaning it's not up in case there is anything watching us. And I'll cover the cap.
Yeah, I'm used to quick drawing, so I'm just.
No,
my
she'd
hand-
be
my hand
familiar
is-
with that. She's just
Yeah.
figuring one out while the flag is doing something.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Sloan will make a point of getting out of the shuttle next, taking a step into the shade, and kind of taking a look about whilst readying some custom scanning equipment of her own. Unless any of you want to be next, I think that Tenkayat Fen will also be very quick to get out because he really wants to stretch his wings. And yeah, I guess from there we'll just say everybody files out unless you say otherwise. Would anybody want to stay inside the shuttle?
I'd leave last.
Gotcha. Let me ask.
Everybody
you-
gets out. Sorrel closes the door and takes off.
Just leaves. Bye.
Yep.
I mean, it is a good opportunity, but next time. Next time.
Yes, yes. When the next part of your master plan is ready. So, describe then how each of you step out onto the world. What each of you decide to do.
Patel's carrying all of the like various equipment and like kit that he brought with him in like both hands. Like I imagine he's sort of laden down a little bit.
Sharp is just eyeing her surroundings, keeping frequently scanning the area with her eyes, but then looking at her tricorder. Just be on the safe side.
How about you, Danny?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's doing anything in particular, just generally keeping an eye out. Probably paying attention to the civilians that are accompanying and seeing what they're doing.
Yeah. I will say to your end, Doctor, the Aurelian, the avian individual here, is stretching out his wings and arms as wide as he can, which, boy, is he has quite the wingspan, I'll say that much. It's not all that dissimilar to the doctor that you originally remember, or rather the engineer originally being on board the Aegis, although
Yeah.
by the time that you had quote-unquote met that individual, they were in a hibernation cycle, and thus completely useless to you. Dr. Natala, for her part, probably also has a larger pack of some sort that she is wielding effortlessly, and just kind of grinning as she looks around the canyon and the way everything is etched. Saral, you are the last one to make it out of the shuttlecraft. What do you do as you head on out? And particular question, do you decide to close up the shuttle pod and
Oh, absolutely. I have no idea what's going on here, and I'm not just leaving it open. Just stepping out last, closing the door, locking it, beep beep, and engaging whatever security measures there are installed. We will find out.
Yep. So with the party out amongst the valley here, you have a moment to look around. I'll say that the general sort of vista, this canyon appears to be fairly long. You can more clearly see some. You can almost see the end of it from one side, but it appears to still go down a ways forward, and that would take you nearer to the cave system and slightly greater life form density that you've encountered. I'll ask people, depending on whether they are examining by just taking a look around, or if they are relying on a tricorder to either give me a reason or insight roll, and I will allow the discipline to depend upon essentially what they want to look for. So give me if there's like a particular condition for something, then, or like what you are trying to discern, then I will decide where that goes. So I'm going. Let's go down in order here. First, Panda. You said that you were.
I'm thinking insight. If only I want to. I'm looking for current, as in like the last few weeks or sooner, of any sort of biological signs or signs of movement within our area. That includes up to immediately. But just like how frequent has anywhere in this area has been tracked.
So I'd say that would likely be insight, and probably security would come into play, although signs could also work. I'll give you insight and security. I think that would work better for Sharp.
Strategy?
I don't think that would quite encapsulate what you would need.
All right, then no focus.
Patel, what are you looking for?
So he's gonna like set one of his like boxier scanners down on the ground and flip it open real quick, turn it on, do the beeps and the boops. He wants to try to get like some indication of the cave structure below, like entrances, possible exits, what's the atmosphere like down there, what are the conditions, rudimentary map, anything like that.
Interesting. Also, I'm going to say whomever subscribed, and my chat hasn't bothered to let me know who that was. Thank you very much. We always appreciate the support of the channel. Let's see here. So I'm going to say, yeah, definitely. In your case, drone, that'll be reason plus science, and just to make things spicy, I'm going to spend one of my threat to increase your complication range up to 2.
Okay. Focus geology.
Geology will definitely apply.
The first time I get to use it this campaign.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spend a momentum to get an extra dice.
All right.
Copy that. Lambeth, while that's going, what are you looking for, if anything?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm mostly just keeping an eye on our guests. So yeah, I'd be fine not making a roll or a guess like an insight. Just watching what the Aurelian and the others are doing.
Make sure they're not being fools, I guess.
Yeah, and also see if they reveal something about themselves through how they're behaving.
Yep. Okay. So going on down the line. First on the player character, Saral, what, if anything, would you be looking for at this point?
That's a good question. Since everyone is doing like the scanning and the bebops, I think Soral, just after I've left the shuttle, made sure everyone's closed up and tied. Just use the as you always say, the eyeballs Mark 1 to just see if anything particular sticks out or if there's any smell in the air, like chemical burns, cooking, or any noises that are like kind of what's generally happening.
Gotcha. Saral, what do your space elf eyes see?
I don't know. What do my space elf's eyes need to roll?
We'll find out with an insight and science.
Excellent.
And then, while that he's working that out, Mora, what would you be looking for in terms of, or is there anything you'd be looking for in particular?
Yeah, I'm sweeping around just looking for potential threats, maybe signs of footprints, things like that. So just a general sweep around with my senses, threat evaluation.
Copy that. Insight and security if you want to roll.
Okay, insight and security. Let's see. Can I apply squad tactics as a focus? We're a squad moving around.
But it's not really something you're doing in an organized squad fashion.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so we have, sort of in order here, Patel, you have the highest number of successes at 4, which I'll just go ahead and grant 2 momentum on this, which I've already sent your way, Panda.
Awesome.
2 successes from Romanov and Sharp, and then 1 for Saral. Or rather,
And
not
that's
Romanov,
Mora.
but Mora. Yes.
Right.
My apologies. So I'll kind of go from increasing sort of insight here. Saral, looking around the environments and listening, there is, outside of your own away team's activity, a fair bit of stillness, or not a lot of outward signs of life from this relatively harsh place. There is a wind that catches through the sharpened mountains and recesses of the valley. Although it is very slight, it's not a particularly pleasant breeze. I'd say it's the warmth might not be a bad thing, but it's a very stiff, dry sort of element, which even a little even a little bit more so than what you are used to dealing with. So probably not the most enjoyable. The surroundings just don't tell you much of what else could be here or what is in this planet. There's very little, be it smell or hearing, that your sensibilities can give you. Some of the elements of hearing and feel may be just slightly thrown off because there's maybe the residual sort of sounds and impacts of the shuttle just having landed that would throw off the most precise Vulcan senses on that. So that interferes with things. So far as Sharp and Mora are concerned, the surroundings at first would suggest that this area is not particularly well traveled, although at least not left by tracks that you would be used to. However, you notice that some of these paths, they appear to be fairly well worn, at least something relatively flattened. Without something to erode that, it might suggest that there's been more conscious effort to interact with the environment in some way, not like any paving or anything of the sort, but more that the softer, like sandier, like smaller rocky parts have been trodden in a sense. In your particular case, Sharp, as you start noticing that some of these pathways do suggest that the bottom of the valley is fairly well traversed itself, although it seems a little more uneven at parts of the road ahead of you that would take it further down to the cave system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, Mora, you notice actually something unusual. What appears to be some sort of object hidden a bit in the shadow of the valley wall. What appears to be, I would best define it as, it appears to be a very crude looking iron bell of a sort.
Head immediately over to Colonel, and I'll just gesture to the bell.
I see it.
Could be
She
a
like
signal
looks.
device.
I look around. Is there any other signs of like creatures or other things that could suggest like maybe this is like calling beasts or something like that?
Nothing that you can see right offhand.
I'll look at the Colonel. Wasn't there something like that in one of the movie nights? They rang a bell and then all these creatures showed up. She's got a half smile on her face.
There's just like a side look and a small smile back. Doctors seem to have something of interest for you, since you are more suited to that. Though, please, I beg you not to ring it, since we don't know what it's going to imply.
Natala and Sloane will both make their respective ways over to you as they start looking at it. Let's see.
Patel briefly raises his head, thinks you mean him, but nope.
No, she means all the... You guys, aside from Mora and herself, all you fuckers are doctors.
There's like 4 PhDs here, so...
Yeah. Well,
And two of them are Patel.
MD.
Oh yeah, if we're counting the PhDs themselves, Patel's got several, yeah.
Yeah, I think Soral as well, and that's different pseudonyms.
Yeah. She's like when you
But
guys
I really want to
if
ring
you guys
the bell.
both give looks. If you guys both give looks, she kind of gives a shrug of like, sure, okay. Like,
Unexpectedly, I think the worst thing you can do is leave Soral and Patel somewhere to figure things out. Because
I mean,
someone will press buttons that should not be pressed.
We had the sarcophagus full of ghosts a couple sessions ago, so I mean...
Yeah, that still has not been further investigated. I'm very disappointed about that. So we go to ring the bell. That was the consensus, right?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Soral. The initial thing that you cataloged there is presently in the Aegis's archaeology department, but you want to investigate that? Tell you what, next session. There, how's that?
no, unallowed.
Oh,
That's not how science works.
oh, well. Anyway, for those at all curious, there is I tend to favor use of a monkey's paw gif when it comes to things that my players ask for sometimes, and I'm perfectly willing to oblige. It just kind of became a side project with everything else going on. Anyway,
Yeah, the last time the monkey's paw curled, I applied to the game, so you know how that went.
yep, it worked exactly as I thought it would. So, going on from there, Sloane is actually going to take a very close look. She'll take a readout of her own with her own sort of scanner, and then set it aside and start investigating to see if there's more of a mechanism here. It looks as though it's actually mounted on a bit of some part of the rock here by some sort of mechanism. It looks as though it has some sort of drums kind of attached on either end or something that... I wonder if it's some sort of seismic monitoring. If there were activity, then it would probably actually trigger the ringing itself. And you could ring the bell without causing seismic activity, but it would... it wouldn't actually do anything, or that's not the intended function, I would suspect.
Would ringing the bell hit the drums?
Well, I should I should clarify a little bit more. There's basically the bell is kind of mounted on like as you get a bit of a closer look at the device that it's mounted to, there's actually like some sort of very crude sort of hunched kind of tripod type thing that's balanced in such a way that if there were some reason for it to shake, then it would kind of trigger like bits of the tripod to like knock into it with there's sort of like flat pads of a sort that would basically crudely accept the reaction, and the vibration would carry it up to where it
Would ring the
causes
bell.
things to knock into the bell. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Shows nod. Interesting. All right. Mild change of plans, not related to that. Patel, you're gonna be with me. Mora, stay with the group as backup security here. We're gonna move 200 meters ahead to make point.
As the captain is giving orders, Patel, your blocky sensor dings.
Ooh. It's the machine that goes bing.
Yep.
Actually, what did my roll give me? Or is this part of that?
That is exactly what it is, because it was taking a more lengthy analysis.
Interesting. I pull up the report or whatever.
So first, on the geological aspects, it seems as though after a bit of scanning, it notes that at some 20 meters down, there starts being a variety of interesting sort of subterranean structure, or like signs of like subterranean openings of various sorts. These tend to mostly be smaller, it seems, but it suggests that there is quite an extensive quite an extensive system in the area, and there are even hints at something further down that would go much deeper. It definitely coincides with the what you were getting from the sensor scan initially, suggesting that yes, there's very likely something more. It's something more worthy of investigation here. The it's also worth noting the ores and other material that the cave structures are made of are extremely sturdy, so your shuttle pod is definitely safe where it is. So Samal's shuttle is not likely to collapse the device. What becomes more interesting for your immediate predicament would be that in terms of the layer of, say, 8 to 10 meters down is more like dense rocky material. It's more interesting insofar as the biosigns that you realize are amongst that. Biosigns of a quite considerable size. You'd probably guess about 2 meters in length, but they are more extended out, as you would guess they are more. They're not meant to be a biped type thing. There are things that seem to be burrowing through the ground, and they are not at a depth of 8 to 10 meters. 3, 2.
I look up from my display and say, I just say,
And that is what takes place mere moments before rising from the sands and dirt come to be what appear 3 sort of very large, for lack of a better term, scorpion-like arthropods. The dust and debris filtering down from filtering down and just falling almost in a sort of waterfall style as they claw their way through sand and stone and rise to the level where they are at. 10
Is the bell going off?
What's that?
Is the bell and drum going off?
Yep. That bell is ringing now as they create sort of a very visible or very audible ring, and the slight shake here. Fen is so concerned or surprised by this that he immediately takes flight, and you are now in combat.
I hate
Fun.
this episode of Tremors.
The first turn goes to you now. Who would like to act first, and by doing what?
I had a phaser out, so I'd be ready to shoot.
Go for it.
Okay. The one nearest me, since it's near Kieran and the Colonel.
Okay.
Oh,
Will this be a lethal or non-lethal shot?
these things look predatory. They don't. They're here to eat, right?
One
Or
could
maybe it's the
guess, but
dominant intelligent species of the planet.
It could be. I'll do stun first, I guess. Then that would be policy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, Captain's very much a we come in peace, phasers on stun sort of captain.
Okay, I have hand phasers as focus.
All right, you
We're
may.
we're in Starfleet now, not with Makos.
Right. So she knows. But I will turn it up to the highest setting because there's another Mako saying, don't fuck around. So heaviest stun setting.
Mm,
And go ahead and fire.
okay. Your shot is, I think, going to connect as the phase pistol like levels directly at it, but or it's almost going to connect. But this one nearest to you is actually going to claw up a bit of like a slab of rock that will intersect with the beam and thus completely diffuse it before it can cut through. So,
Okay. But at least it backed away from my people. I'll take a quick move to just position myself closer to be between Kieran and
the
you
captain.
know
We'll call
yeah.
that a minor action there, so that
right.
Mora takes.
But not to block their shots. I know how to move in conjunction with the group.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's those squad tactics coming into play.
Exactly.
Let's keep initiative.
Okay, that
So
should.
spend.
Yep, 2 momentum should allow you to keep the initiative and pass the action order to another ally instead of an enemy. So,
All right.
who would like to?
I'll go next. I'll say up the ridge, everyone, as I grab the Denoblian archaeologist's arm and yank her backwards towards Kara, and just hip fire the at this anthropod.
Okay, so I'll move Natala there to reflect you, just minor actioning and imposing the slight movement of NPCs. Give me a control and security roll in order to take the next shot.
All right, I will spend 1 momentum to increase the dice.
Would this be a lethal or non-lethal shot? Just to clarify.
Non-lethal.
Okay.
Control and security, you said?
That is correct.
Close quarters combat. I think this is pretty damn close.
I will allow that.
And 3 dice.
Okay, you score 2 successes, which will be enough to succeed. So go ahead and roll damage for your phase pistol. Okay, that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of damage. It is points of stress. It is going to resist 3 of those. So you will only inflict 4 points of stress on it, which will not be enough to injure it. So let's see.
No momentum there.
No momentum, unfortunately.
Damn. All right.
All right. So let's see, Captain. I think as the most successful one against this, it is going to take immediate notice of you, and it is going to come in for a melee. So
I recovered from my stress from that fight a while back, right?
yes. Everybody should be at proper, fresh levels of stress.
All right.
If you were not properly fixed up, then Lambeth would have had a hand scanner on you the whole time and basically been pulling a McCoy, steadily fixing you up.
It's been a few days, so I figured we had enough time.
Fair enough. Okay, so
Probably the rib's still a little raw, but fixed.
Yep. First thing it is going to do is it is going to try and let's see. I think that just because it's been you've been that successful, I think it's going to try and lunge with the stinger on this one. So
All right.
let's see. This will be a daring and security roll, which you may contest with a daring and security roll of your own.
Terrific.
All
right.
Oh, you managed to match it for successes there, with 2 from it and 2 for you. However, as we've shifted to giving the attacker, saying that the one with initiative succeeds, that is actually going to connect.
Oof. All right.
So, yep, the stinger it just rushes forward with practically a springing step from its 8 legs in order to close the distance with you, and as its pincers snap and you struggle to think of any way that you can properly deflect this without melee arms necessarily, its stinger lances out. You manage to mostly dodge and maybe even instinctively partly block with an arm, but I think
I'd probably parry it a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah, the stinger is going to catch actually on the arm a bit, giving you a tasteful but appropriate tear to your uniform in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. So that is going to be... That is entirely too low for the damage there. That should be at least... That's 2 plus the damage is 2 intense, and then... So let me try that one more time here. Okay, well that should be 4 points of damage, so I guess I'll just take the challenge dice as is. But yes, you are going to feel 3 points of stress on that one as the stinger pretty much grazes you, but you do feel that it manages to lacerate your arm just a little bit.
Neat. All right.
All right. So, let's see. Who would go next as the order goes back to you?
I think
Anyone's up for grabs.
probably not Patel.
Okay, Saral, Lambeth, do either one of you want to go?
There's not terribly much I can do in combat, I think. Can I just
Yeah,
grab
likewise.
Sloane and get on the ridge, a rocky, anything with a slightly safer space?
You could attempt to make it up there. I'd say grabbing her arm and giving her the signal basically of let's try to get up there. I will allow you to make a fitness plus security roll.
Or at least out of melee range, because they have now engaged and hopefully don't just jump somewhere else.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, fitness plus security roll. Sloane, I'm going to say will just assist you, and this is going to be a difficulty of 3 to make it up.
Wow.
I could
Would it
alternatively...
be easier to just go not up the ridge, but just put some distance between us? Maybe hide behind the shuttle or something?
You could attempt to go around and behind the shuttle, but you may have noticed that there is something else right around it.
Fantastic, great. It's exactly what I wanted.
Yep. It's like you pull her towards that way first and then stop when you see pincers coming around from the bow.
Yeah, it's almost like landing the shuttle there has triggered some sort of response. It's really weird.
What did you aggro?
I didn't pull anything. I'm not going to make 3 successes. Like, this is highly unlikely. That's why I'm wondering what I could really do.
You could burn a determination and get 2 successes automatically.
Yep.
That's true.
And Sloan will be helping you, so as long as you
Yeah,
you do
okay, that's fair. Let's try to just get up to Rich. Hopefully with her as well. Just like, get a civilian to safety. And
Yep.
as I'm also a civilian, me too. And I would like to use the value. It's hard to fail, but it's worse never to have tried to succeed.
That's a good value in this circumstance. I like that.
I don't think I have any focus. Is it troubleshooting? Does that count as troubleshooting the situation?
I was thinking of exactly that. However, I'm also
No,
gonna say no.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, it was supposed to be just 1 on the assist there. All right, that is. Well, you did get an automatic critical success, but
That's not enough.
Yeah, you did roll a complication there. So, let's see here.
This is how Soral dies.
I will ask, first and foremost, Soral, would you like to succeed at cost, since the auto crit did give you a, the auto crit did give you 2 successes on the board, so you were part of the way there.
How many threat does it give you?
That would be 2, or accepting a complication.
I mean, I'd be happy to accept the complication, and succeeding at success.
Well, I mean, succeeding at cost like that adds an additional complication on top of the one that you rolled
an additional
naturally.
one.
Yeah, we have to resolve that separately.
Yeah, no, you know what? Hit me.
Okay, so succeeding at cost. Let's go in order here. First, for the complication that you rolled, would you prefer to take that with a? Would you prefer to accept a narrative complication, or would you rather ignore it by either giving the GM 2 threat or spending your last 2 momentum?
I'm always for the narrative, but if everyone wants to overrule me, speak up now. Considering we only have 2 momentum, it's also kind of a hard call.
Yeah, it is a hard call. Go with narrative. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, second question. Since you are opting to succeed at cost, how do you want to treat the resulting complication from that? Would that be taking an additional narrative complication, or giving the GM threat for that one?
Just give back threat.
Kind of curious to see what he does with 2 narrative complications. But I'm happy to give you threat for that.
Okay, so we'll tell you what, Soral, you will succeed, and a civilian will indeed be rescued from this. It's even you. But your footing goes askance, and you wind up losing your grasp on Sloan, who manages to stumble because of the slight error that you made. She's going to slip down and roll back prone in the direction of the arthropod. You will at least make it up here. And realize that you have put one of these civilians in a slightly more perilous situation. For that, let's see, I am also going to take the 2 threat.
Well, I tried. I mean, that's really all that we can ask for.
Yep.
I really tried. Ah,
Okay, so, all of that taken care of. The turn next goes over to the arthropods again, which one of them, now that it has gotten around the material here, is going to start engaging Mora. They will try to lash out with pincers, so this is going to be a daring and security roll, which you may contest, Brian, with the
Okay.
with
Can I
daring and
try
security as
to
well.
use, since we were ordered up off the sand, we were heading up onto the ridge area? Is that right?
You were ordered to eventually make it that way. However, sorry,
I've
one
got
moment
this
here.
guy in front of me. He's not, I can't get there before he attacks, right?
It would be tough for you to get there. Plus, you could probably divine that the captain's intent is for you and her, like as the most tactically inclined people, would be to fix these things in place while you
Shoot him.
let the other people escape.
Okay.
We're the
Then-
rear guard, but we have to hold these things back as people go get up the ridge.
Okay, so that's what I'm doing then. Daring and security, right?
Yep.
I will use my stun baton to block that thing, and I'm going to favor it blocking it up the tail, because often the pincers can swing around at the end, so I'm going to try to compensate for that, and just because this thing's getting an attack on me, right? I'm defending, right?
You are defending, yes. You must beat
Okay.
2 successes in order to successfully hold it off.
Ooh,
Okay.
user value? User value here?
Yeah. I hate to use it so early, or I'd love to grab momentum. If I use my value now, the crew is my family, protect them, that I won't be able to use it later if there's another threat. So it's really, how do you guys want to play this? You want me to use momentum, or do you want me to use my value? Because if I blow it, then I don't have the value later.
Up to you.
It's up to you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and blow it now, since this is the big job, hopefully, of protecting the crew. So that's 2 successes right there.
Spend a momentum to get a third dice as well.
Okay, I'm going to do that. So that's 2 successes to begin with.
Ooh,
Very
and that
nice.
is another 3 successes.
Okay.
And that will, combined with the auto critical success from invoking the value, which for anyone here unfamiliar to the system in the audience, I've noticed we'd have a couple new people. Star Trek Adventures is generally, so first, the dice system is a basic 2d20 system where you roll 2 dice, you try to hit a target number that is equal to the sum of an attribute and a discipline, the former being like more nebulous stats like daring, reason, or presence, the others being more specific like security in this case. From time to time, players can boost their odds either by spending momentum in order to buy additional dice or create advantages, other useful things like that. In this case, purchasing d20s. They can also use points of determination, provided they call on either a value or a directive for the mission in order to gain a point of determination, which, among its uses, can give you a free automatic critical success. So, with that combined, you have 5 total successes, beating the 2 that were necessary in order
Okay,
to
and I
succeed.
wanted to describe that. So, like, if you're handling a horse and it's starting to get edgy, you get on the side of the horse where it can't kick you and it can't nip at you, and you keep yourself at that position. So, the side of this creature, it's going to have trouble getting me with its claws, and I'm dealing with the stinger with my baton. So I'm going to use my 5 to hold this thing in place so the rest of the crew can get up. They've got a channel to get up the side of the hill.
So you're saying, like, in addition to the blocking, you're going for you're going basically to try and jab at its flanks and try to give it a shock with the stun baton?
Only if that presents itself. Really, my move action was to just get on the side of it, so it's harder for it to, it'll have to try to turn to get to me, and I'll continue that turn, sort of like an Aikido blend.
Okay.
Just keeping this thing busy so people can get up the side.
Yep.
And I'm not even worried about striking it right now. Tactical goal, create a channel for the crew.
Okay. Well, that can be a separate advantage that you take. I'm actually... Well, let me ask. Would you prefer to take 3 or 2 of the incoming momentum that you have and use that to create an advantage here?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it. Create an advantage. I'm tying this thing up by keeping it busy. It's animal intelligence. It's going to obsess about that thing that it can't get to.
Yeah. Well, let me actually... let me ask first. In terms of the damage roll, are you going for a strike, which would treat damage as normal? Is this more of a shove, where we are only assessing if you, create an effect and that, if basically something to knock it back or fix it a little bit? Or would it be... They don't really have the disarm option, I guess, since they aren't...
I can't really disarm something that has fixed things. So
Yeah.
I guess...
I mean, you could like burn or severely wound like a limb or something like that, so they don't want to use it.
If that's the best opportunity, the key thing is I want to pin this thing in place so that the group has a way to get up the hill. Okay. That's what I'm looking to do.
All right, I guess the question would be: would you aim to actually injure it or stun it? Would you aim to basically roll damage against the thing, or are you just trying to?
If the opportunity presents itself, this thing is aggressive. I'm going to do damage to it. We tried the stun option; they didn't get that.
Well, the stun baton's non-lethal anyway, but go ahead and just roll damage for that, please.
Okay. Rolling damage. Let's see my weapons. Here we go. Phase pistol, particle rifle, stun baton.
Yep. Okay, that is 4 points of stress, with 2 of them being intense. Let's see. So while that is not enough to injure it, you manage to get in a solid hit, kind of between parts of its carapace, something that you think might be thinner, and give it a slight shock. It recedes from its attempts to pinch at you, and it takes on a more like hunched and sort of docile demeanor. It still seems to be active, but it is kind of it's taken on a most unusual sort of stance that suggests less immediate combat or like less aggression. It does.
Okay, I'm gonna mirror that by stepping back, and I'll put the baton away, but my gun is up and on lethal and pointed at it. And all I'm doing is just, if this thing holds its place, I hold mine. I'll kind of crouch back and mimic its body posturing. Maybe it'll understand that. And I'll just look at the other people. Get up the hill.
All right. So turn order goes back to you guys. Patel, Lambeth, either of you two may still act.
Whom of the NPCs have already gone?
Sloan is technically prone right now, and Fen is up in the air, so they've kind of both. Well, Fen has kind of done his bit. Sloan is unable to act right now. Natala could still also go.
I can. Dr. Lambeth could help get Sloan up. Or at least if Patel wants to help the Denobian, or.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yep. Patel, I'll say for your part, you can already see that Natala is very easily, even with her heavy equipment, getting handholds and starting to scale the wall. Natural climbers they are.
Yeah, I just kind of like the idea of Patel going last because he was the one who had the oh moment when he saw these things popping out of the ground.
Yep. Let's do Lambeth then. You help Sloan to her feet. So call that a minor action so that she's no longer prone.
Yep, and then what's our exit strategy?
I think the idea was to loop around near the bottom of the screen where Mora seems to have momentarily suppressed this creature here.
Alright, I'll help guide her in that direction.
Okay. I won't force a roll here, but if you would like to roll, this would be, I'll call it a fitness and security roll, and I'll make this a difficulty 1 since you are just running through here, and the other security officers are keeping them the creatures stalled. So, if you want to roll, Danny, that is your prerogative.
Yeah, I'll give it a roll.
I can have Sloan
one
assist
success.
too. Okay, well, you will at least make it up the ridge, joining Saral, and very soon Dr. Natala, who is in the midst of everything. With that, the turn goes back to the creatures, which one of them has begun crawling over the shuttle pod, or Saral's shuttle, and has occupied the space that you were in before, Danny. So, for one thing, I imagine Saral, if he were anything like most of the crew, he would want to give that thing a firm hosing with a flamethrower later, just to make sure nothing is left on it. But yeah, I think that it's just going to need that time in order to traverse, and it is going to be getting in a position to bracket you, Captain. That being
Cool.
Yep, I think it had to take that time in order to move, so it is, I'm going to say it is unable to attempt a task and make any attacks against you right now, but that does mean that the order does go back over to the players. So yeah, Patel, you have an opportunity to do something now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out, I guess. Like I don't picture Patel as being the person who immediately goes for his phaser. And he has the order. Everybody else is up on the hill, so he's gonna run up the ridge.
Yeah, that's true. Patel wouldn't be the first of the phaser. At best, he's most likely to either pull out a tricorder or more closely examine his surroundings or a situation. The detailed in spite of the danger type.
Yeah, but I think in lieu of picking up that phaser, he is going to grab this kit in his arms, the big bulky thing, and run with that.
Okay.
Up the hill.
That is going to be one more roll then. Another fitness and security, and just because you are hauling a bit more, I'm pumping that threat back in just to make things a little more spicy again.
Woof.
Complication range 3.
Yeah, right.
Use a value.
I have a couple. Put me in the field, coach.
That's a good one. That is a solid value. I'll readily accept that.
Okay, and that's 2 successes, right?
Yep.
Or what is that? What is it? Okay.
That would be the auto crit if you want to use it now. Otherwise, that is You can save it to re-roll if you so decide.
Yeah. Let's. Can I reroll that one?
I will.
Not the one, but the 0.
I will allow that. So
Okay.
that's 2 successes. It almost gets you clear of it. You're not quite to the ridge. You've probably made it around Mora. You've noticed that this other creature seems to have retained a very sort of sedate or docile behavior. It's very unusual compared against the other two who still seem plenty aggressive. But this thing, it's not as though it seems to have been incapacitated or injured. Quite to the contrary, it actively seems to be just sort of looking around with its eyes or like kind of interacting with or well, just very basically sort of in a hunched sort of position.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something like Patel's running with this thing in his arms or whatever, and like the normal human being would be like, I just have to leave. But there's some tiny part of Patel's brain that's like, oh, this is actually very interesting xenobiological behavior.
I'll tell you what, with the partial escape that you've made, do you want to try and take a closer look at this thing?
Do I get that like basically for free or like what?
I'll give you that.
Okay, yeah, sure.
All right,
Uh,
I'll give you the option to roll with either reason or insight and science, depending on whether you want to scan or try to uh, go old Mark 1 eyeball to gain some insight, or you could spend a point of momentum to obtain the information.
I think he's running with this thing in his arms. He's not going to whip out a tricorder.
Yep.
So Mark 1 eyeball it is.
All right. Give me an. All right. Well, with 1 success, you notice that the behavior of this thing is very strange and docile. Given this, I mean, it's possible that the electrical shock would be enough to do something to this creature, but if anything, like as your mind races here, you think back to that bizarre crustacean that you encountered way back on HD 45518. In particular, much like this, you would imagine that because it comes from another world where the star has high radiation, even though it's much more shielded here, this thing probably has a pretty well hardened carapace just from radioactive exposure. So it makes sense that maybe phase pistols might have a bit more difficulty against this, absent some adjustment that you have yet to postulate. The shock prod itself, from the stun baton, also shouldn't really do enough to create an injury, but a learned behavior might teach it to do otherwise. And that is what I can give you for a success.
A learned behavior. Okay.
They could be cows.
Very aggressive cows.
Or
Guard dogs.
security.
Oh yeah, does anybody bring like a doggy treat?
All right.
Okay.
So
I mean, there's honestly a good chance Dr. Lambeth's got something on him that an animal might find interesting. Or we could
Yeah,
whip
him.
something up.
well, I think with Natala scaling the wall there, that's going to be her action. I guess Sloane can still technically do something here, but she's probably just going to ready her EM44 and maybe try to take a shot at one of the advancing creatures, or the one to the captain's flank, just to try and be of some help. So let's just call that a quick control and security here. Okay, yeah, she will manage to land a shot. She's going non-lethal as well on this. So that'll be that's only going to do like a single point of stress to the flanking one, as the shots mostly just diffuse off the carapace. The EM44 is an older style earth hand weapon, closer in some fashion to what the Makos commonly use, insofar as it fires like small bolts of particles as opposed to the coherent phase pistol beams, but it still makes contact at least, and maybe distracts it for a moment. That being said, the turn order is now completely reset, and all of you have the opportunity to act as normal once again.
All right, I'll go first since I am being surrounded. Seeing how well the baton worked for Mora, I will draw the stun baton in one area, and
You had a baton.
I think I have a baton. What I have a baton?
I mean, it was
I guess I
Mako
don't.
standard equipment, but I
Yeah.
don't know if you kept one.
You did
All
know
right.
you were walking into a.
No, I didn't. I and it'd be more Mako than it would be for me. And I'm trying to go more into Starfleet. It makes sense. All right. Soral's gonna kill me. What is like something on the shuttle that I could shoot that could cause a solid EM discharge?
Well, although it's inert, there are probably a few targets on the shuttle that your phase pistol with a sustained blast could. I don't know if there's anything that would create an EM discharge. Maybe if there's well, no, Soral doesn't have any sort of weapon emplacement. Your best bet is actually to trigger like a small bit of venting plasma or perhaps some other type of gaseous discharge that would cause injury to the creatures. It would take a very well aimed shot and probably render it would require effectively a
No.
lethal
We don't want to do
shot.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to back up, and just continue to fire at. I'll fire at one, and then if I have enough momentum, I'll shoot at the other. All right. I will use a value here. I don't start fights; I finish them. And to get 2 successes, and here we go. Additional 2 more successes.
Okay. And then you could re-roll, or you can roll an effect to determine whether, or a challenge die to determine whether you keep your.
Nope. I don't.
No.
Not this session.
All right. So with 4 successes, go ahead, roll damage for that phase pistol.
Wow.
Okay. That was lethal or non-lethal? I forgot.
It's non-lethal.
Okay, good. Just making sure. All right. It will ignore 3 points of stress. So you do another 2 to the one that you've mainly been engaging. You do have 2 points of incoming momentum as well. So.
Yep. I will spend 1 point to among these things. 1 point for penetration, so I can ignore 2 resistance.
Okay.
Could I actually re-roll those damages? I have
with another
4
point.
zeros.
With another point of momentum, yes.
Okay, let's re-roll those damages.
Okay.
So 4 dice I get to re-roll, right? Or
Yep.
just re-roll. Okay.
Try that again.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So additional 2 more damage though, at the very least.
Yep. So that is that will mean that you do actually do enough to inflict an injury to one of the to the main one that you've been engaged with, whose stinger had previously lashed at you. Unlike the other one, they are just basically like as the blast hits, they're just gonna kind of slump over, falling unconscious as near as you can tell.
All right. And then if you guys don't mind, since can I roll? Actually, what? I'll just keep the initiative. Why not? I'll just keep the initiative. I'll spend the last two to move on to the next person.
Okay.
If people are okay with that.
I think that this would actually be I'll double. Well, no, I think it is keeping the initiative. But if you are acting again, it does increase the difficulty to the task by one.
Yeah. It's two in either way. But what do you guys think? Should I move on to somebody else, or should I give it to the next person? Should I give it to the enemy? I guess we're down to one enemy, so we'll just give it to the enemy. We'll just have 2 momentum still. Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Well, with one of them still being passive and the other firmly stunned, the final one is going to close the distance with you, Sharp, and go in for a lunge with their stinger.
Now,
So, that will be daring and security once more. 3 successes from them.
Oof. All right. Nope. I take the hit.
Yep, and I gain 2 points of threat from that. So let's try this once again. I'm going to try this here. Oh, no, sorry. I mistakenly rolled the...
I'll accept that.
That was the task roll when I actually meant to roll the stinger. And it only rolled 2 of the dice again, so I need to do that just one more time. Okay, so that is once more 3 for another 3 stress, Captain. It is going to swing at you. You try to dodge, you try to deflect, but the stinger comes in at such an angle that once again there's another laceration to, this time we'll say like the shoulder, so you've got like a cut kind of coming down on the side just between the arm and the shoulder.
In very crook-like fashion, my uniform's getting messed up.
Yep. And yeah, with that, your turn, or rather, the turn passes back. The turn order passes back to the players now. So, who would like to act next?
Are we back? Is everybody gone?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's recycled now. We're on the second round now.
Okay, I'd like to continue my hold of this one creature, and then, if are Kira and Patel is Patel and Sharp up the ridge yet, or are they still?
I was getting injured by the last one.
Yeah, Sharp is still also playing rear guard. And she has stunned one of them and been engaged by another one. Patel is not yet up the ridge, kind of lugging equipment, though he seems to look in fascination at the creature that you have, as you've managed to seemingly render it more docile.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, without taking my full body facing, I'm going to still be facing this critter, because this critter is reacting to pose. He's crouched, I'm crouched, he knows I'm a danger. So what I want to do is take a shot, and I'll slightly move my position if I need to do that, to fire on the uninjured one that's threatening the crowd.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
say
so that would be this one right here, correct?
yes, it is that one.
Okay. And let's see. We have 2 momentum. I'd like to spend a momentum on that.
Okay.
So that's 3 dice, and I'd like to use my hand phaser focus. That's a given.
All apply. You said
Okay.
this that you've since upgraded to kill.
Yeah, oh yeah, I ain't fucking around.
All right.
This is making time.
The GM takes 1 threat for a lethal shot.
Okay. And it should have rolled. It didn't. Let me hit it again. Task roll. Here we go. Okay.
3 successes. That will hit. Go ahead and roll damage on that phase pistol.
Okay, phase pistol. Here we go. Damage.
Okay, 2, 3, 5. It will ignore 2 points of stress, and it will take 3 points of damage. That shot, fired with more energy intensity, does burn a bit more into the carapace, but does not actually kill it. They are
Okay.
tough to put down.
That's okay. This one just saw me just kind of reach and shoot over my shoulder, and then I'm totally concentrated on this guy.
Yeah. Anyway, with that, they've actually all acted, so, or rather, anyone that can act is able to do so. This one, it's just going to look around kind of between you, Mora, and Patel, who is the nearest one, almost regarding you with curiosity, if one were to anthropomorphize. But, yeah. Who would like to act next out of the group that still exists? Or rather, who hasn't already acted? Patel, Zaral, Lambeth?
I'll give it to either one of them if they want it. Otherwise,
Ben, you around, Ben?
Yeah, I'm around. So
Do you want to do anything? Any actions? The cabin's kind of messed up. There's still one left over. That's
Okay.
still active.
I don't think I can. I'll be better at helping the captain than finishing them off. So I guess some field medicine time.
You could go up and do that. If anybody else has, since nobody else is particularly confident with with combat actions, I'm sure you could think of something else non-combat to do. But yeah, for you, Doctor, this would be. Let's see. I think that you could technically administer some medicine right now with a. I think that would be daring and medicine as far as a task goes.
Yep, and I've got first response, so I can get a bonus d20
Okay.
when doing first aid in combat.
Yeah. Technically, you aren't at least having to compensate for a proper injury. The captain has merely taken points of stress, so you can just roll this in terms of helping her to recover some points of stress.
Yeah, is that a priority, or do you want to go with, I don't know, I guess he's probably got a pistol on him, so I could try and use that to shoot a thing.
Yeah,
You could do that too, yeah.
Alright, he'll, while kind of guiding Sloane away, he'll, try and shoot at the whichever ones. What's the current state of them all?
The last one is injured, but
The last one's
injured
injured.
twice, but it's still up and going.
All right, let's go after that last one then.
No. This one's down. This one's cowed, and that one is still rampaging. Just very injured.
Right, let's go over the rampaging but injured one. Right. And then just try and do the last injuries on it.
Yep. All right. So go ahead and roll me control plus security with a difficulty of 2.
2, how much momentum have we got?
2.
2. Is it worth using 1 to get a third die? I've got
Sure. Go for it.
13 total.
Go for it. Nice.
Well,
All right.
so that earns momentum back.
The doctor lands a square hit with 3, so yeah, Sharp, you manage to, or Panda, you can draw back that 1 point of momentum. Doctor, you level the phase pistol as steady as you can, and sure enough, with a surgeon's hands, you manage to fire a beam that hits it square in its flank. Give me a roll for damage with that phase pistol. Also, I did want to ask, are you keeping your phase pistol on stun?
Yeah, that's what everyone else has been doing. Or have we progressed to...
The captain,
For the most part.
yeah, only the Mako has gone to lethal damage.
Okay, let's stick with stun then. Because that's probably the default setting.
Yep.
Right, and it's the...
Okay.
Nice.
So with that, and as you can all tell on non-lethal shots at this point, it has been ignoring 3 points of stress, so that shot there would be enough to inflict 3 points on it. Or it would cause 3 points of stress to the creature as is right now.
So from the 2 before and the 3 before that or after that, still going, or?
Yeah, it's still it's probably not too good at this point, but it has it's still got a bit of stress left on this thing.
Okay.
All right.
So
that's Lambeth's turn.
All right. Anyone else? Unless you want to just pass on down, then we keep going from here. Saral, Patel.
Can I assist anyone in anything?
Well, pretty much the options look like shooting or getting finding some non-combat thing to do right at the moment. Everybody, save for Patel, is safely on the ridge, and he is steadily making it there, though he was chewing over something mentally.
Yeah, which one is the one that's like looking at us curiously and not attacking?
The far left.
The cowed one, as Panda put it.
And is Moira still next to me? Is this accurate? Or
Yes. You might be like a few steps above, but Moira is. I think Moira's also taken a step basically to give herself a clearer vantage point on this while also holding the baton in the direction of the other one.
So, okay, when you say this one is like looking at us curiously, is it posing in any sort of aggressive way while it's doing this? Like, is it stinger at the ready, or is it just looking here like?
It's contracted its stinger and it's pulled its pincers inward, with its legs somewhat out. It is hunched down. Unlike the one the captain is stunned, it is very clearly still conscious, but it is just looking in your general direction and has been that way ever since Mora popped it with the stun baton on its side.
Yeah. Patel's going to say, Lieutenant, don't take any action until it is taken action back. I think it seems like it's aware of something going on.
Confirmed. That's what she just goes confirmed.
Trying to think of what I can do to like try to, I don't know, like establish that we are not here to mean them direct harm. We're just investigating something. I'm not holding anything besides like this equipment in my arms.
Yeah, the bulky geology box scanner that goes ding.
Yeah. So the most human thing I could do is I'm going to put the box down and put both of my arms up in the air with my like palms extended, not like above my head, just like in front of me, in like a peaceful gesture, and see what this
Can
thing
I?
does.
You were asking about something there, Saral, just before I resolve that?
No, this is more like a kind of like a meta commentary because I'm not. It feels like some information got like crossed. What
Yes.
I got is that Patel saw that this is not natural behavior, but looks like trained behavior.
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I got that.
so
Okay.
it sound to me as a player, it sounded more like maybe guard dogs or something. So they're not like
They're guard
intelligent.
scorpions. Better
They're
than
not like
guard dogs.
intelligent, but they're like guard dogs. So I'm not sure. So what you're doing seems more like these are intelligent creatures, and I want to communicate them. I don't mean them harm.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get that, so that's a good point. Thank you.
Okay. Are
If
you
that's not too much meta.
Yeah.
I
Then
mean, yeah, I think Patel's smart enough to figure it out, so I'm okay with any cosmic retcon you want to make here, Drone.
rewinding time, picking up my device. Yeah. Okay. Giving the lieutenant no further orders to attack, but wait until we see what it does, and then like maybe Patel just shouts out to the rest of the group. It's reacting to some sort of a cattle prod. Does anybody else have a stun baton? I don't think we need to damage these creatures. I think they're trained to do what they're doing right now.
I agree with your assessment. I'm just holding position and mimicking its body position. So I'm still kind of crouched back a little bit like it was. Hopefully it understands that.
So the other one is stunned. Is the one that is not stunned and not like currently cowed? Does it show any indication that it sees that its pack member is also cowed?
It
Or-
doesn't seem. It seems to be committing its attention firmly to Sharp. However, at this point, I am prepared to just go ahead and give you another detail here that you would pick up on as you spend more time focusing on these things. You actually notice going to that domestication theory a bit further up the carapace towards the forward section or towards its head, you realize that there is a bit of a protrusion surrounding a part of its body that is not natural. What appears to be some sort of metallic ring. Possibly a collar of sorts.
Oh, on all of them, not just the one that's cowed, right?
You notice it on the cowed one first, but you realize that it seems to be on all of them.
Hmm.
And I think I'm actually going to go ahead and close out this particular scene. My expenditure of 2 threat, as you begin to put 2 and 2 together, a loud crack in the air breaks the flow of everything that was going on. The snapping of claws and the occasional bit of phase cannon, or rather phase pistol fire, as the sound of some sort of combustion ballistic type thing fires off into the air, and when you orient yourselves in the proper direction, you see that what was readily apparent to be a shot has originated from a cliff face up here. And while that scene is closed out, we're going to actually cut away back to orbit, where the Aegis is presently, after having left off the shuttlecraft, we cut over to the bridge where it is nestled in the rings of the planet Fomalhaut C. At present, Let's see. Sorry, just trying to find my way to the bridge. There it is. We cut over to the bridge where the Aegis, being nestled in Fomalhaut Sea's like planetary rings, is basically using that in order to conceal itself from any possible hostile groups. Shira, you have been left in command. Romanov has remained with this point to you on the bridge at damage control.
Is Romanoff on the bridge, or am I in engineering?
Romanov is still on the bridge as we left off from last time. Got the new token up for you too.
Oh, sweet.
So let's see. Yeah, the question would be, Shira, whether you wanted to act on anything in particular or had anything that you wanted to do in this moment here.
See, there's that thing we discussed earlier this week.
Yes, yes. That was very much my thinking here.
Yeah, sure. We'll look over to Romanoff.
Yeah.
How Romanoff, Crichton? How good are how capable are we of getting a transmission out through all this planetary debris here?
That is a good question, Crichton.
I don't believe it would be terribly possible, sir. All of this, between the debris and the radiation coming off of Fomalhaut, the objects, for one, there's a high enough density of them and enough metallic objects to make transmissions more difficult. Combine that with the radiation that it's reflecting off of everything, and even though we're relatively safe from objects in the corridor, communication would be extremely difficult, sir.
Okay.
She looks over at you. Dream on.
Okay then. So I'm thinking that just in case things really go bad, perhaps we should rig a probe that can backtrack our course to a point on the edge of the system, and that can transmit some kind of a distress signal.
Would a probe be able to replicate the maneuvers we did to get in here? We do know a route.
Connolly looks and thinks for a moment. Yeah, we could probably program something at least with the end of the corridor that we took. Given that they've got someone else might still be in system. I wouldn't advise trying to send it out the other way. That may, of course, though, it may delay the transmission slightly, just because the probe is going to. The course it will head on would take it a little closer to the star, so it might have to move a bit up through the stellar disk in order to get there. I suppose if we set it for slightly more shielding, we could try to plot its way out through the... we could just try to have it proceed through the stellar disk. With a size that small, it might actually be able to maneuver around without too much issue. We just need to make sure, micrometeorites or something don't cut through it.
I think maybe we would send it the safer route to ensure it actually gets out.
You want me to go rig the probe?
So if you can, that would be useful.
I'll head on down to Probe City and I'll go do that now. Wade, Mr. Conley, you can forward me the nav information and I'll put it in there based on your programming.
Will do. As you start walking towards the turbolift, Romanov, Crichton will get up from his console and come alongside. Lieutenant,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes. He's addressing Shira.
Oh, okay.
Lieutenant, not that I'm not for making sure that we can get word out to friends, or at least letting Starfleet know where we are. The nearest ships are light years away. Some probably not any closer than Wolf 359 unless a freighter's passing by close enough, and even then, retransmit time will mean that whatever encounter we deal with would be considerable. I don't know how long it would take for help to get here.
Well, it's better at least trying to get some help here than having none at all and no one knowing where we are. At least we can transmit where we are, and the ship, if for whatever reason, say the engines were to cut out, at least we could survive on minimal power, probably for some time before another ship gets here to help us.
Very well, sir. You would like me to keep it then on just the general frequencies?
There's a signal I would add in, and she'll give him that kind of emergency Andorian signal thing.
He'll look over the comm bands that you are proposing from his console, and he'll look back to you with a look that says something that would be not incredulous, but it would give you slightly the sense of maybe just very mild panic or uncertainty, but he'll resolve it quickly and says, "Aye, sir. I'll be sure that is included with the probe."
Thank you, Mr. Crichton.
Yep.
Oh, and no, Shira has not reduced the temperature on the bridge at all.
Yeah. Everyone but Shira is comfortable.
Hey.
Yeah. So, with that, Crichton will start programming in the appropriate frequencies, Romanov will begin rigging the probe, and your bridge crew will have something to do. For the time being, the situation remains quiet, but sensors, while they haven't picked up any signs of any returning company, you are left to wonder exactly who is joining you out in the debris field of Fomalhaut. Likewise, you are left to wonder the exact fate of your crew, who are presently out on an away mission. Among them, they are currently, back down in the valley. The other creature appears to have ceased its own moves, although it remains in a very guarded sort of state, as a single shot has pierced the air. Tenkayat Fen has opted to land in very close to you, fearing that something might have been directed at him, although nobody has heard any sounds of a ricochet or anything of the sort, and for some reason that did not translate.
So it could be just the equivalent of rock salt.
Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, just backing that up, making sure that everybody is good and visible. All right. A little bit more. There we go. A figure in a very weathered in a very weathered type of outfit wanders down the path, carrying what appears to be some sort of elongated weapon. Seems to almost be, like, from a distance, it would look like a long set of tubes, like, fixed together somehow. Very ramshackle or improvised looking.
that brings Sharp back a little bit.
Svitska! Svitska!
She'll just slowly set down the weapons and look to the rest of the crew to do the same. Hands up. We came and come in peace. Don't mean no harm.
Continue to get closer to you. The more that you get a look at this thing, this individual, they seem to be vaguely humanoid, although with some marked differences. In particular, sort of vibrant tendril-like protrusions coming down from its chin that appear to slightly like undulate and move about, kind of a will of their with something of a will of their own. As he nears, it's also clear to you that his eyes are like he seems to perpetually, even in the shade, he appears to have his eyes a bit, or like his brow furrowed and his eyes a little bit let's see. His eyes are kind of squinted. There's something reflective in quality about them.
Sharp has an ear for linguistics. Is it completely foreign, or is there any sort of similarity to some of the other races that she's run into?
This is not something that you recognize. Or like there might be some very basic principles of similarity, but you're probably going to need to run the translator to say anything absolutely certain. And he's just going to reply to you, Captain, with something unintelligible, like very brief.
She just raises a finger and says, "One moment. We need to." She gestures to her throat and like in that sort of like waving her fan towards the direction of like almost speaking, but shaking her head and looking to Patel. Translator.
I just speak English and German, Captain, and a little Denobulin.
Translator on the tricorder.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He flips up in the tricorder.
Yep. Either you or Saral, though it looks like Patel's been given the first nod here, you may attempt an insight and science roll here in order to activate the translator. Technically, it's meant to be more engineering, but I'll allow science for Patel. Difficulty on this is going to be 1. Okay.
Should I assist?
You may assist if you like. And because you are assisting with yours, there's another assist that also comes into play.
What's the roll again? Sorry.
For you,
Insight, fine.
I'll allow insight and engineering if you want, but it can also be science. No help from the modeling there, but you know.
I should not roll today.
Yep. It takes a few moments for the sensors to, rather the UT to draw in like the bits of like words. You have to prompt him a few times to try and say a few things, and it's like, oh, that's so fun. He looks to his pets, or the scorpions out there. Hey, sky ships always cause problems.
We're very sorry about that.
How'd you... I understand you now.
Hmm.
How?
We have a universal translator to better speak.
Well, you're quick at... some device, of course. Skycraft like yours... always problems. But clever.
I'm sorry. We were just trying to find a nice, safe place to land, and didn't realize you had your. She looks at her injuries, looks over at the scorpions, pets. We didn't know this was your front yard.
Oh. Oh, you got marked by them. They impart any venom on you?
She'll just unflex her arms and her shoulder. How they feel?
That's when the captain falls unconscious.
Well, you have noticed, Captain, that as the adrenaline's come down a bit, you have noticed you're feeling a little more relaxed than usual.
Muscle relaxants, she says.
Usually they just keep them. You didn't take a fuller dose, otherwise it's probably just glancing. You'll be all right. They prefer you are from elsewhere, so you don't probably know they prefer not to kill their prey when they feed. They just prefer them asleep and pleasant.
I'm severely lucky. Thank you for your intervention. I didn't wish to harm them any more than I had to.
Is that one dead? Says, gesturing to the one you were engaging, Captain.
No, just unconscious.
Good. The others are not yet quite warm enough or large enough for their usual hunting, and you will excuse my parlance, but your friends are more the ones I have concern about.
Friends?
You come down in a skycraft like that, and you tell me you aren't here. It's a port of Kraken.
The sky is very large. There are many people there. Perhaps you can elaborate. I might be familiar with them.
Oh, how could you?
You don't know everybody. You don't know everybody on this world, do you?
No, but I see the skycraft every time coming up and down. Whenever I'm out, I see it thundering through the sky. That craft or one like it will come down, and gesturing to Sorrel's shuttle, and they bring those light weapons like you have, and all manner of things that Kraken has unleashed on us.
Does the skycraft look just like this one, or different design?
I've never seen other types of skycraft. I only know the shape and color. I am never that close to it.
She'll just nod, of course. Is there a better place we can move ourselves? We don't wish to impede on your herd.
Well, I shall need to treat them, and if you do not know of Kraken, then you are perhaps safe to care for, albeit with a watchful eye. You may keep those light guns if you are truly who you say you are, but understand, they will. I am very quick with my weapon, as you might be with yours. So
she very, very obviously, very slowly, just puts the face pistol back into her holster. Nods.
With taking one arm away from his rifle, or if you can even call it that, it is still a very much improvised weapon. he's going to get what appears to be 2 bits, like it appears to be an iron rod with something vaguely bell-like. It's attached at a weird angle to where the rod is going into the bell, essentially. And you actually notice it seems to bifurcate before it goes in there. He'll give it a shake, and it creates a most unusual sort of sound. There's the bass ringing, but there's some unusual harmonic quality to it. Saral, you're going to hear this as something with your ears being a little more sensitive. The cowed creature and the one that was more just standing by appear to change their posture slightly. The cowed one is a little more assertive, but not back to aggressive, while the more active one comes down. The incapacitated one is still not terribly responsive, although it seems to move a little bit. I will have to rig that. Make sure it can be dragged until it properly wakes. Or maybe I have something for this here. He's going to start striding past you.
If you need some help, we certainly can help.
You Skycraft folks may know a great deal of many things, but this is my specialty. I would, though, know, however, first, who do I deal with?
I am Colonel Sharp of Earth, and these are my crew. She'll just start naming everybody.
Well, I am Lastis, and you have found yourself near one of my hunting grounds, or that of part of my herd. If you are friends of this place called Earth, or residents of there, if you come from a place that does not befriend Kragan, then perhaps we have more to discuss. Till then, you will come with me.
Of course.
Is there any particular recognition or reaction to Soral as the only Vulcan?
He looks past you with the same wary eye that he gives to everyone else. It does not seem likely that this is a gentleman who, it would appear, is aware that there are other beings and that they come from the great beyond, but he has never met an alien besides you. The only reason he's probably not freaking out is just that he understands the base concept of extraterrestrials without knowing precisely what else.
I mean, aliens visit cow fields all the time.
Yeah. Tenkayet Fen might give him the most pause because he's just absolutely strange, measured against the lot of you. But yes, with that, Lastis is going to go. He'll pop something out of a bag that he has. You'd guess something of a potent scent of a sort that rouses the middle scorpion who you had stunned, Captain, and it starts slowly getting back to its feet. And with that, the three of them start following him along. He says, well, those of you of Earth, friends of this Colonel Sharp, we go on.
Lead the way.
Right.
She just looks at the scorpions and just remembers back on the ranch and being bitten by horses or, muscled in by freaking bulls and just shakes her head. It's like, oof.
Yep. And
I'll smile at the guy who's obviously the scorpion herder. I'll try to smile at him, and because I beat on two of his buddies.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, we are going to cut this off here with the party joining in with this little company here. And yeah, this is where we will end today's game. So for those of you that joined us, thank you for stopping in. This is where we're going to leave off in the archive, so we will look forward to seeing you next week. If any of you are watching Broken Sword right now, I do apologize that videos have been a little short there. We did have an issue on the last stream that actually prevented normal play. We are hoping to come back next week, but there may be other issues with that, so we will just keep you posted.
So we might be dark next week.
No, Aegis will be fine. I was more addressing anyone who is also a fan of Broken Sword. But anyway, we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.